Coming up on the Sports Gap, Richard Jefferson almost shuts down the NBA bubble. But first, death, taxes, and Michael Jordan's revenge.
Oh, you again. Let's get to it. This is the Sports Gap. I'm that dude. I'm in the bubble, and things are getting weird.
So me and the boys had beers last week, I'm the quarterback. What we got here?
On top of that, I had a pretty bad breakup with my accountant when I saw this.
What was the first thing you thought or said when you got the news yesterday that the President of the United States pays $750 in federal income tax, and before he was president, he paid $0?
Seriously, what the fuck, $750?
You've got teachers, you've got firefighters, you've got, frontline workers. You've got people who are doing God's work to protect and lift us up, paying more in taxes than the self-professed billionaire?
Look, Ben Franklin once said, the only thing that you can count on in life is death and taxes. Chad Ochocinco took it one step further and he said, there's 3 things in life that you can count on: death, taxes, and 85 will always be open, and that's why we love Chad Ochocinco. I'm no billionaire, but I'd like to believe that if I was, $750 would feel like chump change. $750 would only get you a ticket to the French Open final with enough money left over for a souvenir umbrella and a ball. Ooh. Now look, ball to the throat from the world #1, Novak Djokovic, that's priceless. Like, you can't put a price on that. She even gets to keep the ball. It's like a souvenir. While I can't prove it, I'm pretty sure that Julian Edelman paid more than $750 to get off the hook for this. Cops say that there was a car leaving a parking lot and had stopped for pedestrian traffic when Edelman decided to slide across the hood like he was Starsky and Hutch. Look, I'm all for acrobats, but you gotta do it on your own car, Julian. Come on. This incident occurred following a dinner with Paul Pierce and Danny Amendola. As weird as that group sounds, but according to TMZ, Edelman cut this dude a fat-ass check and now everything's fine. So to recap your fantasy football flex, while giving you nothing this week against the Raiders, he has contributed more to this country in taxes and hood fees than the current commander-in-chief. Don't worry, you're gonna figure out why we're talking about taxes very, very soon. But my guy Jalen Rose, he said it best. This is his mood when realizing you can write off $70K to your hairstylist. Jalen, I would pay $70,000 today for that hairline, so I don't want to hear anything about that. If anyone knows a good accountant and has a good recommendation, please let me know. Speaking of not paying taxes, shout out to the Miami Heat and the Los Angeles Lakers on the NBA Finals, but really the Miami Heat. According to a recent Bloomberg article, the Miami Heat will not be paying any state taxes on their earnings in the bubble. And neither would the Orlando Magic had they made it that far, but let's be real, they were just lucky to be invited. With the NBA finishing out its season in Florida, players who are residents of the Sunshine State will avoid income taxes altogether, as they are no longer earning pay in other states that impose income taxes. Little fun fact: when NBA players and professional athletes play in other states and cities, their salary is taxed at whatever the state's tax rate is. In Florida, that's 0. That's why a lot of players live in Florida. In California, it's 13%. That's why my dumbass lives there. This is known as the jock tax. As a player, I had to file taxes in 16 different states. TurboTax does not cover that. For states with higher income tax like California, it means hundreds of thousands of dollars in tax revenue for every game that the Lakers or Kings host, and the Clippers, and the Golden State Warriors. With Jimmy Butler and the Heat stuck in the bubble in Florida, all this time he actually saved over $81,000 in jock taxes. Want to know who's responsible for the jock tax? You'll never guess it. That's right, this guy, Scottie Pippen's Michael Jordan. Here's the story. After the Bulls beat the Lakers in the '91 finals, the state of California told Jordan he would owe taxes for every day he spent in LA. So Illinois hit back. They passed a bill known as Michael Jordan's Revenge. This is a real thing, people. That bill taxed California athletes visiting Illinois, along with any athlete from any state that dared tax Illinois athletes. That opened up the floodgates, though. Tons of cities and states and governments saw that this was a chance to reach into the pockets of visiting athletes. These days, nearly every state that hosts professional sports teams have their own jock tax policy. I'm not sure how we forgot to cover that in The Last Dance, but just know, here on the Sports Gap, we got you.
This week's public service announcement is the story of one jackass trying to do right, who nearly ruined the $150 million experiment that is the NBA bubble. Richard Jefferson arrived in Orlando on Sunday, September 6th. This individual was in a green zone. It didn't take long for him to recklessly break protocol and test in a yellow zone. After that, he decided to play pickleball with the referees, who could have spread the virus to every single player, coach, and team official on the floor. That's what we call community spread. Thankfully, corporate caught it in time, created new signage, and sent out a selectively declassified email which read in part, "Please be reminded that anyone with a green credential may not take their coronavirus test at the Bioreference Lab trailer at," which is in a yellow credential zone, by the way. Rather, tests for on-campus residents must be taken only at. It will forever be known as the Richard Jefferson Rule. And by the way, Richard did it twice. Don't be that guy. Have a magical day.
Okay, so let's rewind. Let me break it down to you what happened. Basically, I got picked up from the airport and the first place I tested was in that trailer. So after I got into the bubble, I tested here for a week. I get off the bus and I was like, oh, I need to go get tested. I'll just go back there. The only problem with it, those individuals, they can go to Magic City for wings. So it's not as secure. That was my mistake. That was my bad. I didn't make the mistake after they told me not to. The NBA Finals presents one of the best storylines in sports, redemption. And sports has some great ones. Look, think about the Boston Red Sox who in 2003 lost to their rivals, the New York Yankees, in a Game 7 heartbreaker and returned the next year after going down 3-0 to come back to beat the Yankees and to go on and win the 2004 World Series. And they broke the curse of the Bambino. I was at that Game 7, and when I tell you, it was one of the eeriest things I've ever been a part of. And then there's Virginia, who was the first #1 seed to lose in the first round of the NCAA tournament in 2018, and then returned the next year to win it all. And we can't forget about Tiger's win last year at the Masters. Like, come on, that was epic. That's one of those wins that everybody remembers where they were. Not every redemption story is great. I try not to think about it too much, but there is an Olympic team called the Redeem Team. Now look, I've said it once and I'll say it again. I am proud of my bronze medal. You have to win a bronze. There's a bronze medal game. Don't forget that. Our Redeem Team story starts with the Heat's Jimmy Butler.
Jimmy Butler's reputation at the moment is as clubhouse cancer, basically, as locker room cancer. There's no other way to say it.
This may have stemmed from rumors that at one point he yelled at his Minnesota teammates saying, "You fucking need me. You can't win without me," which is true. He wasn't lying. Let the record show that before Butler arrived, the Timberwolves hadn't made the playoffs in 13 years, and they haven't made it since he left. Little known fact, Jimmy Butler ended my career. I was on the Denver Nuggets that lost the last game of the year to the Timberwolves that put them in the postseason.
Butler hangs in the air, does just that. Jimmy Buckets comes up big.
Thanks, Jimmy, for ending my career. I really appreciate that. Fun fact, that was 2016's meme of the year, and it features a rapper named Conceited. You need to go check out that rap battle. It was fire, but it deserves a new gift based off this sequence alone.
Me letting you hear these nice raps. If you so hot, how come you couldn't melt down an ice pack? I mean, you couldn't be for real with that babble. This matchup to me is a back paddle. And from the looks of things, you still look a little ill from that battle. Especially... See, I forgot my damn line. Oh. Son, you must be out your damn mind!
But back to Butler. What the media says and what guys say in the locker room are very different. And recently, his former teammate had his back. Tyus Jones pointed this fact out. Butler was called a cancer by people who were not in his locker room. Isn't that kind of suspicious? While on the JJ Redick podcast, when asked if he knew if he was going back, Butler had this to say.
I knew I wasn't going back at one point in time. Now, before I say this sentence, do you think I'm like just that hard to work with?
I don't think you're hard to work with. Yeah.
No, I'm not hard to work with. A main reason that I didn't go back was because somebody asked, can you control him? Like, can you control Jimmy? If you can control Jimmy, we would think about having him back. I was like, you don't gotta worry about it. Cause I don't do nothing that's just drastically fucking stupidly crazy. I do not do that. So don't sit here and come at me with the, oh, we gotta try to control him. Nah, you good. if that's what y'all worried about, I think, man, good luck to y'all.
The Heat won 39 games last year and were expected to finish near the bottom of the playoffs, if they even got in at all. And now they're in the NBA Finals. Talking about his Miami interview and how he ended up here, Butler added this.
I don't know what the hell I'm going to do tomorrow. Yesterday's gone, but right now, I'm going to be the best version of me that I can be. And that's how Miami does it. I don't know how every other team do it. I can tell you how Chicago does it, Minnesota does it, and Philly does it. But Miami's way different than all of those teams that I just named.
Hey, Jimmy, it looks like you're having the last laugh. 2 current Laker players also find themselves on the redemption list. In 2008, either player could write their own ticket, but 9 years later, they have traded their teams and their fortunes. A Rolling Stone article said this about the players. They are each going to be forever difficult to some extent, and that's something that any team that picks them up is going to have to take into consideration. Rondo would see himself dogged by reports of him quitting on his team, something he would not consider doing in a game of Connect 4 against this 11-year-old.
Game. Can you see it? 2 ways.
We've all seen that look before.
Nice to meet you.
Howard's fortunes weren't much better. He went from winning the slam dunk contest,
Oh my gosh.
going to the NBA Finals, then teaming up with the Lakers, to falling out with the greatest Laker and getting traded around the league. Amidst headlines that read that time was running out for him to rebuild his rep, he was also hit with rumors regarding his sexuality that he was forced to speak out publicly with Christine Leahy last year. Look, he was even on the fence about entering into the bubble after his son's mother passed away. That's a lot to deal with. And the injury to DeMarcus Cousins, however, opened up a door for the redemption story and his return to the Lakers. Started from the bottom and now we're here. I'm with you, Dwight. Now, he and Rondo are on the same team playing for a title. But it's worth noting that unless they win a title, their legacies really don't change. Our last redemption story of the NBA Finals leads us to the Wash King himself, LeBron James. LeBron is proving that he still has it after 17 years and challenging everyone who said they thought he couldn't do it in the West.
LeBron James played 55 games last year, missed more games than he ever has in his career, played less minutes than he ever had in his career, 35.2. Still averaged 27, 8, and 8, and I don't expect that to change one bit.
LeBron missed the playoffs last year and is now on the verge of his own dynasty. And this isn't the first time LeBron has taken on the challenge of redefining himself. He broke the Cleveland curse with the help of the host of the Sports Gap, yours truly. This is the world's finest sports and entertainment. As it says edutainment, and I looked, edutainment is an actual word. It's educational entertainment. A title this year, after missing the playoffs for the first time in a decade, might have the same value as Tiger winning the Masters last year when we look back at his body of work. Jordan and Kobe had Phil. Magic had Riley. LeBron keeps reinventing himself. But wait a second. I want to talk about Pat Riley for a second. The only person who can challenge LeBron's comeback storyline is perhaps the godfather Pat Riley, who at 75 has shown us how to live and look good doing it while making stops in his career at all the best spots in the NBA. LA, New York, and even going with his golden years in Miami. That's how you want to do it. This man really is a genius. Not to mention he has 10 NBA championships in his career, 1 as a player, 5 as a head coach, and 1 as an assistant coach, and 3 as an executive. That's a lot of winning. One last NBA Finals fun fact. While we talk about legacies and redemption, the only player who can possibly hold a candle to Riley is his former player Shaq, whose legacy looms perhaps larger when you realize the past 37 NBA champions have featured a player with a connection to Shaq. The Big Aristotle, Shaq Fu, and the Big Deporter. Google why he calls himself the Big Deporter. That one's pretty good. Only a Celtics-Nuggets final would have broken that streak this year. So as much as we love watching athletes rise, remember, never stomp on their grave when they fall, because the one thing we love watching more than athletes rise is watching them rise from the dead. I'm your host, Richard Jefferson, and this is the Sports Gap.